Clean run.
You know it.
You know, these things are the answer to everything.
Huh? Yeah, but like we still don't have the gun or feather drone after 10 levels.
Yeah, I know. But I was talking about the lore.
Uh, yeah, what?
People can go on and on about how the paintings in the museum tell the story, but I think that's barely skimming the edge. These things. This is why we can play the game.
Yeah, you're making no sense.
Images are a snapshot in time. These things. They tell you exactly why and how everything interacts. They're R.E.P.O's version of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy's 42.
Okay.
Let me show you as we play next level. I think it'll start to make sense in a moment.
Yes, energy crystals. Ever since I started playing R.E.P.O, I always had this interest for these majestic yellow wonders. And of course, they assisted in using my favorite weapon, the gun. But as many who play this game know, there's a mysterious story within this apocalyptic world. One that many can't seem to solve. And I, with my detective sunglasses, think I have solved the lore. Partially. For those who have no clue regarding who I am or what R.E.P.O is, let's start off with a few quick introductions. Hello, my name is the _hidden, and I'll be your tour guide through the Retrieve, Extract, and Profit operation. As you begin your journey, your character drives a massive truck into the walls of one of 4 locations, with the intention to collect items for your manager, Taxman. These can range from radioactive items, relics, tools, computers, potions, crystals, and fingers that are flipping you off. Once brought to the extraction point, the items are delivered to your boss, and he rewards you with payments. But on your excavations, you will be met with various mutations that will stop at nothing to prevent you from succeeding. After visiting each location, you are given the opportunity to go shopping for upgrades, weaponry, and tools to help you with your next location. Rinse and repeat until you explode. This concludes your tour. Here's the gift shop. I'll be accepting tips at the door.
Okay, so what's the story behind these then?
Well, that's complicated. But I have a theory. Energy crystals, in a nutshell, are the items that you use to recharge some of your tools, weapons, and drones. Some are plain and simple to explain, such as valuable tracker, because you could just say, oh, there's a rechargeable battery in it. It makes sense. But some items aren't that easy to explain. Take the photon blaster, which is a ray style of gun. After some number of uses, the gun will need to be recharged, not reloaded.
So think of this as a giant energy blast. The yellow beam is a ray of high voltage energy, and the enemies are damaged by the electrocution.
Okay, so yeah, that makes sense. But then, like, how do you explain the gun? It shoots bullets!
Much like the photon blaster, the gun is recharged in the same recharge chamber, using energy crystals. That bullet that the gun fires is just a charge of energy, of electricity, firing out of the barrel. The same could be said for any other gun-like utility. The baseball bat and frying pan is where things really start to get complicated. Not to forget the rubber ducky. But this thing? This explains everything. See, not too long ago, this very great guy called Nikola Tesla demonstrated the idea of wireless energy transfers through electromagnetic fields. So really, we're just saying, oh hey, electromagnetic fields, phone, charger. It's as easy as that. It's just a wireless transfer of energy to something else. So the thing is, we don't need to get too scientific to understand that if this works, then why can't just swing a frying pan at something at a high velocity with some type of contained voltage within also transfer the same energy?
So the reason you can spank enemies with the frying pan is because it's not just any ordinary frying pan, but one that can hold a voltage and expel it when you make contact with the enemies.
Which brings us to our next question. Why do the enemies drop orbs? Ever wonder why the orbs begin exploding from level 20 onwards, or why Taxman finds these as something with monetary value? Well, without getting too deep into my theories, what we can say is that there's some sort of energy in the orb relating to the crystals, or perhaps maybe an anti-version. And that's what the enemies are using. Assuming one of these ideas is accurate, all we need to do now is give a reason for every single enemy to exist. But there's a third option, and it's oddly a lot simpler. So what if the enemies stored some portion of the energy that you hit them with, and once killed, you basically get the retained energy that they were able to store? In the natural world, a herbivore consumes about 10% of the energy that a plant produces, and a carnivore consumes about 10% of what a herbivore has. So what if the orbs are a small percentage of energy that you hit them with? Taxman could want those back for various reasons.
Alright, let's presume that I agree with everything you say. But that still doesn't explain how they add to life, the universe, and everything.
Well, we've only talked about the crystals in their crystal form.
Huh?
What came first? The chicken or the egg? Well, that's an untold story we'll never really truly know. But what came first? The development of the semi-bot? Or the tools and weapons that they used? Almost certainly the semi-bots came first. So therefore, there are really only two options for why the energy crystals exist. One, they're introduced when an apocalyptic event occurred to help with the semi-bots and Taxman's side. Or two, and I think this was more likely, semi-bots actually use energy crystals as their batteries. The energy crystals were part of the development of semi-bots. Ultimately, this will remain an unanswered question, probably for eternity. But if we were to assume that energy crystals were part of the development of semi-bots, then so must the upgrades. Think of them as adaptations of the battery. Speed might allow more energy to flow through the legs, while strength is the same thing but with the arms. Stamina expands the electric running capacity, and range would allow a longer bandwidth. Even the health suddenly starts to make sense. When a semi-bot is damaged, some of the health dissipates, and there are a couple of ways to regain some of the lost hit points. The main one is health packs, of course, followed by returning to the truck after completing a level, and some other random miscellaneous methods like ticks. Ugh, ticks. Health packs, in theory, are not that far off from AEDs, which a semi-bot could probably just give itself to amend the inner workings. The truck can also be compared to a lightning bolt with some contained voltage.
That just does not sound accurate.
Unfortunately, this is where I do end this video off. As I try to find another time to upload a sequel to this video, if you so desperately want one, I encourage you to challenge yourself and this theory. What people say online might be true, but not necessarily. Why should I believe anything people say about the lore of R.E.P.O? Why should you? And that's why it's a theory. See you all next time. Thank you so much for watching. In the meantime, I'm gonna go find that semi-bot gift shop people keep talking about. Sure, it's around here somewhere.